there's so much talent on both sides of the ball there in Atlanta. I do like them, even at plus 150 and a question mark at QB as the favorites in that division.
Why would the Falcons be priced at plus 150 with Desmond Ridder as their quarterback? It's because the books know the quarterback situation is going to improve, whether it's free agency or the draft. They seem to be very interested in Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins would be a massive upgrade for them playing indoors in that division. So that's what I would do. I would play Atlanta now.
That's why you're supposed to watch this show, folks. Aaron, you weren't in that conversation, so I do want to start with you here. Now that Kirk Cousins is in Atlanta and they're odds-on favorites, how would you approach betting the NFC South?
I mean, of course, you wish that you had a ticket from when it was before. I mean, if he's going to be minus 110, you could bet something in the NBA tonight for that and get a return. Why would you tie up money at that price? So the price for me personally is not there. Do I think they have a shot at winning the division? Of course I do. Do I think Kirk Cousins is an upgrade to some extent? Yes, but he's still 36 and coming off an Achilles injury, and he had a team that was going 4-4 before he was injured. So there was question marks surrounding him all last season before he even was injured. But in terms of him now going to the Falcons, one thing that is at least in favor of them is their defense has been really good. I mean, they were 12th on defense, but 27th on offense. So getting a guy like Kirk Cousins should only improve and help them. But at the same time, it is still a 36-year-old coming off an Achilles injury. So in terms of betting them right now at minus 110, no, I would not do that.
Yeah, big improvement. 50-1 to win the Super Bowl, down to 30-1. And then, like you talk about, down to minus 110 for the division. Looks weak, but operative word is looks weak because Tampa was half decent last year, and you never know. Someone else is going to pop. I mean, not Carolina. They're certainly not going to pop. They have no idea what they're doing. But like usual, you might think to yourself, all right, well, I missed the move. What do I do? Well, let's play the domino game. Where am I going, by the way? Here? There it is. All right, finally. So let's play the domino game, and let's take a look at what's going to happen here, all right? J.J. McCarthy, number 4 quarterback off the board in the eyes of many. We think the first 3 picks are going to be quarterbacks. 1, 2, 3, New England 3, Washington 2, and then you got Chicago at 1. Well, now that Atlanta has solved their problem, you have 4 teams in striking distance of pick numbers 4 and 5, which are tradable. Kyler Murray is going to be back in Arizona. Justin Herbert back with the Chargers. You can play those individually if you think the Giants could trade up, which they need a quarterback. You've got Minnesota at 11 needing a quarterback, Denver at 12 needing a quarterback, and the Raiders are rumored to be moving up. They're at 13 needing a quarterback. If you put the same amount of money on McCarthy, number 4 at 13-1, and number 5 at 9-1, that turns out to a parlay that's plus 483. So basically, you've created your own bet. Do you think McCarthy goes 4th or 5th, plus 483, essentially 5-1? I would make that bet. I think he's off the board by the time the Chargers go. It's likely 4, but it could be the Chargers at 5.
That logic makes a lot of sense, and McCarthy is getting a lot of buzz as we near the draft. Again, if you missed the boat, like we discussed, and as Aaron said, why would you want to bet minus 110 and wait 8-9 months until the end of the NFL season? Here's another way to look at how Kirk Cousins has maybe potentially given you futures value with the Falcons. We would assume, if he comes back healthy, they're going to score a lot more touchdowns this year with Kirk Cousins, right?
You would think so.
Well, that's going to benefit guys like Bijan Robinson and Drake London. How about going to the Offensive Player of the Year market, where Bijan Robinson has dropped from 40-1 to now 25-1, which is 6th shortest odds in the entire NFL. And Drake London has dropped from 150-1 to 75-1. I want to focus on Bijan because 2 things. 1, our researcher Mac told us that since Kirk Cousins was acquired, he has been the most bet on player in this market at ESPN Bet. More tickets for Bijan Robinson at Offensive Player of the Year than anyone else. And it makes sense to me because the new head coaching staff, Raheem Morris, Zach Robinson, where'd they come from? The LA Rams and Sean McVay. Sean McVay has proven he will ride a running back the way Arthur Smith would not with Bijan Robinson. Think Todd Gurley winning Offensive Player of the Year. Last year, Kyron Williams, if he didn't miss 5 games, would have been right there with Tyreek and Christian McCaffrey in that race. So I think Bijan still has some meat on the bone at 25-1 for Offensive Player of the Year. And Drake London could be a guy that turns into the new Justin Jefferson for Kirk Cousins. Just think about that. Just think about that. Elsewhere in the NFC, your Philadelphia Eagles, Aaron, Joe, reached an agreement with Saquon Barkley yesterday on a 3-year contract. The 2-time Pro Bowl running back rushed for 962 yards and 6 scores for the G-Men last year after missing 3 games early in the season with a high ankle sprain. So, Joe, I'll start with you. In this regard, does this move along with the signing of Bryce Huff, a pass rusher who used to play for the Jets. Does it make you more inclined to bet the Eagles in a futures market?
Not really. Maybe if you want to play him in the division, but keep in mind, Dallas has done nothing. Dallas is the favorite to win this division, right? They're sitting there at plus 115. Eagles are plus 135. So they make all these moves and they barely move at all. What does that tell you? Well, the impact isn't as great as it might be led to believe here in free agency. Philadelphia's got problems at head coach. They've got problems at coordinator. Remember, Kellen Moore oversaw a decline in the Charger offensive production last year. And a lot of people would say, well, you know, they got hurt late in the year. They weren't starting Justin Herbert. It's not necessarily his fault. Well, Dallas got a heck of a lot better once he left. So I don't know if I would trust him. I don't know if I trust him. Quarterback Jalen Hurts. Leadership concerns, locker room concerns, all that stuff's bubbling out of Philadelphia. This is a team that's overrated based on 2 years ago. They went to the Super Bowl. They played nobody that year. They didn't get hurt that year. Last year they were tested. You saw what ended up happening. I think the answer is they're somewhere in the middle. So for me, there's not really any value playing them to win a Super Bowl, playing them to win the NFC. In the division, maybe, because there aren't many options, but not all that intrigued.
I agree. I don't really find much value on the Eagles right now, despite their Super Bowl odds moving from 18-1 to 16-1. This was a really good trade for Saquon. I don't think it's necessarily the best thing for the Philadelphia Eagles. It's a lot of money for a guy that's entering his 7th season. And yes, the last 2 seasons he's been okay, but he has a lot of health question marks as well. I mean, he missed 3 games last year with an ankle injury as well. Now, it is good for Saquon also because, I mean, the Eagles had the 6th most rushing attempts in the league, the 8th most in rushing yards, but a couple concerns, like I just mentioned, the age of Saquon Barkley, as well as you talk about the chemistry. That's a huge thing for this team, and especially the defense. Like, are we going to figure out the secondary, who was 31st in passing yards allowed per game?
James Bradbury will back nicely.
There's other question marks around the Eagles that I'd rather have those answered before I'm thinking about betting on them.
Aaron, back with Joe and I here. What are you hoping to do with the Steelers during the offseason?
I'm hoping to look at their win total once it's posted.
Okay.
We know with Russell Wilson, it's kind of the same conversation we had when he went to the AFC West. What's he going to look like in such a competitive division? Now he goes to the AFC North, which is extremely, extremely competitive, but I think this is not the worst move for the Pittsburgh Steelers by any means. I mean, if you look at Russ the last 2 seasons, although we did complain last year, of course, by some of his performances, his touchdown to interception ratio was better, his completion percentage was better, his total QBR was better. He just held on to the ball too long and just seemed like he wasn't attacking, let's say, the field in ways. So it just, for me, it's not something I want to bet in terms of to win the Super Bowl, let alone win the AFC. But when that win total comes out, I'll be interested in maybe playing the over for that because we know Mike Tomlin, that guy doesn't have a losing season.
I think the Super Bowl odds tell you everything you need to know. Before he showed up, they were 75-1. After he showed up, they're still 75-1. Seattle couldn't get rid of Russell Wilson fast enough. Denver couldn't get rid of Russell Wilson fast enough. What does that tell you? That doesn't happen with marquee quarterbacks. Kirk Cousins just got $40+ million a year times 4 years coming off a torn Achilles. Russ signed for $2 million. They kicked him out the door in Denver. When he arrived in Denver, they got worse. You can blame Nathaniel Hackett, but the following year, it didn't go much better under Sean Payton, who said basically he was going to be able to fix him and then couldn't get him out the door fast enough. So I understand the Steelers' mindset here. It's a buy low. They want to compete for Kenny Pickett. There's no guarantees that this guy even wins the job. And if he does, he doesn't throw over the middle of the field. He can't throw down the field. I really can't see it doing enough to put the Steelers past Baltimore, past Cincinnati. I like Cleveland more than them too, but I was like that last year as well.
Well, I'm going to come right back to you because you mentioned Baltimore, the reigning AFC North champs. They made a big move today, signing Derrick Henry, the tailback from Tennessee, to join Lamar Jackson in that backfield. How does that move impact how you look at this team?
It could be something that helps them a modicum in the postseason by taking some of the load off of Lamar Jackson's shoulders, because Lamar doesn't appear to be a guy who can put the team on his back to win a minimum of 3, maximum of 4 games in the playoffs. His floor is too low. The Patrick Mahomes floor is still good enough to win football games in the playoffs. The Lamar Jackson floor will get you blown out in the playoffs, and we've seen that. We've seen it in the past, and there's no reason to think otherwise in terms of winning 3 or 4 in a row. So here comes Henry. You can put the load on his shoulders a little bit and lean on him, but keep in mind, he's averaging 305 carries per season over the last 5 years. That's a lot of wear on those tires.
That is. I mean, Baltimore was first in rushing yards per game last season, so to add somebody like Derrick Henry makes sense. I mean, he's played 8 seasons in the NFL, only 1 season he was really injured. That was 2021, but a lot of miles at the same time. Yeah. It's been a while, so not the worst thing, but not inclined to bet more just because he's on the team.
All right. Very fair with Derrick Henry, though. Ravens fans very excited to see now 2 Heisman Trophy winners in that backfield.